Well, I started at home in Cork with my aunt Arbel, who's passed away now, but we started from a riding school background. I learned to ride at home with my mum and Arbel. Started through the pony ranks, 12-2s, 13-2s and 14-2s. Sort of got a bug for the sport when I started to get a little bit of success in the 14-2s. They travelled a little bit to the UK to jump in some of the young rider classes. I was lucky that we had a lady who rode at our local riding school, was interested in purchasing a decent young rider horse for me. So the involvement in owners started from a quite a young age. She bought me a really good young rider's horse that jumped at the Young Rider European Championships in Vigo in Spain and did really well. I then got to a point where in the winter in Ireland, obviously we don't do a whole lot of shows, so I thought it would be good to try and go abroad and try and improve, try and learn some more, and basically improve myself. Albert Vaughan had been to Ireland and competed at some of the winter shows in Mill Street, and I really admired him as a stylist, and I thought if I could get to him it would be really good. So I picked up the phone myself at 17 years of age and asked him if I could come and learn and come and work. He said I could, and within 4 or 5 weeks I was on a plane, totally, never been out of the country before on my own, so it was all a bit of a shock to the system. Anyway, I found it really, really difficult for the first couple of weeks. I was gone from doing nothing at home to doing everything abroad, mucking out 8 stables in the morning. He was one of these fanatic people for having everything spotlessly clean, brassoing door handles, scrubbing concrete once a week, all daft stuff like that. But the funny thing was I started to enjoy the routine of what I was doing. He was giving me a lot of help with the horses, and all of a sudden it was something that was very difficult started to become very, very enjoyable. I learned a lot from that man. He was a perfectionist. He had a method in how he trained his horses. Not everyone will buy into his style of riding, but for me, coming out of Ireland at that time, sort of not knowing anything and being able to just grasp this routine and these methods was really beneficial to me. I stayed there for 4 or 5 months and then returned back to Ireland and was driving myself mad with no routine. Everything was a mess. So I felt like I needed to move on again, and I went to work for Michael Whittaker for 5 or 6 years. He was the #1 rider in the world at the time, and he was someone I really admired, and by hook or by crook I was going to try and get myself there and get myself under this man who I thought was the best rider in the world at the time. Again, I picked the phone up. I asked him if I could come and learn. He didn't give me the impression that he wanted me there, but I sort of begged and pleaded with him. He paid me £125 a week, and I worked like a slave there for a year. Eventually things turned around for me. I got a couple of good horses, one in particular, a horse called Conquest, which was a horse that was new into the stable. In the beginning, he maybe didn't feel like it was the most scopy horse in the world. If I can give you an example, when he jumped 1.25 meters, he never felt like he could jump 1.30 meters. When he jumped 1.30 meters, he never thought he could jump 1.40 meters, and he just continued like that throughout his career. And he finished up winning the Aga Khan in Dublin. He was an outstanding horse. But I was lucky that he gave me the horse, and it was the horse that sort of springboarded me to, in the sense that owners were looking at me and maybe saying, oh, this is a decent guy, he rides well, and maybe I'll send him a horse. And then I accumulated some owners around me at Michael's. I was also giving lessons throughout the week. I was earning as much money as I could. I was selling horses, I was selling trucks, I was doing whatever I could do to earn myself some money. then when I got myself into a little bit of a better situation, I rented a yard in Leicester myself. I'd accumulated Davises as an owners now for 15 years. And they've been great supporters of mine, and they purchased some very expensive horses for me and helped me to where I am today. We've all spoke about the importance of owners, and I don't know the answer to young riders in Ireland, how they're going to get the next owner or get the next person to spend money on them, but I think you've got to put yourself out there. I think you've got to try to make yourself look like you really want to do the job properly. You really want to be the best rider you can be. You want to be a stylist. You want to be someone who would say to, yes, that boy rides brilliant. He's the man I'm going to give a horse to. You need to look after your owners. You need to communicate with your owners, like David and Jerry said. Even when it can be really difficult, you know, you can go in, someone could give a couple 100,000 for a horse for you, and it goes in, gets eliminated in some class, and you think, how am I going to make this call to this owner? But you have to do it. You have to somehow keep them on side. You have to somehow keep them informed, and I think if they're good enough people, they'll stick with you. What were the other questions you wanted me to comment on?
You might talk a little bit about your views on Ireland and the Irish horse at the moment, and young horses and so forth.
Yeah. I've been lucky enough to purchase two very good, I think, Irish horses. Okay, one was out of an Irish mother by Lux, so it's not purely Irish bred, but born in the country. That was a horse, if I use him as an example, Special Lux. He came to me from through Porrick Judge. He was, I would say, a borderline runaway when I got him. The rideability was a little bit, if I'm talking honestly, a little bit all over the place, but he learned really, really quickly. And he was a very good horse to work with. He was a horse I owned myself. I gave him to Anthony Condon, who was riding for me at the time, to produce for me because he needed some more experience. Anthony, a rider who came from Ireland as well, who's spent nearly 6 or 7 years with me now, has now turned himself into a really good, really stylish rider, and I think a lot of people have a lot of respect for Anthony now, and I'm really proud that he's a rider that's gone through my hands. Anyway, Special Lux has since been sold to the States, and he's working out really, really well for Christine Tribble. She's been winning some Grand Prix with him. And I'm very, very proud to the fact that I bought him in Ireland and I've sold him abroad, and he's gone on really, really well. Another horse I bought recently is Kodako, which I'm sure you've all heard of. I think he's an outstanding horse. Again, he's by Darko out of an Oram mother. He has an Irish book, but he's from foreign parents, I might say. I hope he'll be a really good horse for the future. He's giving me all the signs that he's really, really talented. Again, very easy to work with, so I hope he'll be really one for the future. He's owned by Davises now, so it's looking like he'll be a horse that won't be sold. He'll be kept for me to ride, and hopefully one day he'll be competing for Ireland on Nations Cups with a bit of luck. If I can just comment on a few of the young riders that have been through my hands, I mentioned Anthony. Bertram Allen, actually, I still have a big involvement with him. We speak 3 or 4 times on the phone. He's doing really well for himself in Germany at the moment. He's an example of the many talented riders we seem to have in Ireland. Okay, honestly, he comes from a family that have the ability to fund him with very, very good horses, so maybe he's a little bit of an exception. But he's a real good rider for the future. He has a really good brain. He thinks about what he's doing. He's really disciplined in his work, in his flat work, in improving himself. So hopefully he's a really good rider for the future for us.